awesome.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sunspot, your front row seat to the blazing world of Rogue Sun. Whether you're chasing down supernatural mysteries or battling through family drama that spans generations, this is the place for all things Dylan Siegel and the legacy of the Sunstone. Every episode, we break down the latest issues, explore the tangled web of enemies and allies, and dive deep into the mythology that fuels this fiery hero. From the streets of New Orleans to realms beyond, we'll uncover every spark, shadow, and scorching twist. And today, we're turning up the heat to supernova levels because joining us is the architect of Rogue Sun himself, the man who's been weaving every twist, turn, and knockout moment since day one, writer and co-creator Ryan Parrott. How you doing, Ryan?
That is better than anything I've ever written. So well done. That was awesome.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's been so long. We were talking about this earlier. We haven't had you on the show since February 2024, and it's been 2 arcs. You've written so much since then, from the Infernals to Vicarious to Rogue Sun, and I'm pretty sure there's other things we're missing. Oh yeah, Captain Atom, the Atom Project, that was awesome. You've done a lot since then. So how have you been, man?
Busy apparently. No, things are good. Things are good. I'm happy that it's amazing that the book is still going and we get to talk a year and a half later. That's really cool. But yeah, no, I'm actually up in Palm Springs right now, house sitting, but I get to see my dog, which is great. He's asleep over here on the side. So I am a dog person, even though I tend to do stuff with cats all the time. You know what I mean? Like putting him in my comics, and that sounded weird the way I said that. But you know what I mean?
Awesome. Well, let's start with the elephant in the room, okay? San Diego Comic-Con 2025 teased a crossover with Medieval Spawn in issue 30. So I gotta ask, what's it like to pitch, hey, how about I bring Spawn into Rogue Sun? Does that still feel surreal? Like, how did that go?
That was, I think the only reason I make comic books is so that I can meet my heroes from when I was like 14. Because Kyle introduced me to, I remember we were at New York Comic Con, I think it was like 2 years ago. And we were like at our booths, and when Todd McFarlane walks through any comic convention, you start to see it because basically everybody starts to like congregate. It's like, you know, it just turns into like a big group, a mass following. And he comes through, and Kyle had met him before, and he goes, "Hey, do you want me to introduce you?" And I'm like, "No, please don't do that. I'm gonna make a fool of myself. Let's not do that." And then he did it anyways. And he met him. He's like, "Oh," and Kyle did his spiel, and then he's like, "Oh, Todd, do you know Ryan? He writes." And he goes, "Oh, Rogue Sun." And I literally probably went white. The fact that he even knew the name of the comic that I wrote. Nicest guy. So that was kind of, and then I remember the minute he walked by, I was like, "Thanks for introducing me, dude. That was cool." So I was so excited. But I've loved Spawn. Like Spawn's like the first book. I remember buying issue 1 in the comic store. I like that book so much. I remember giving it to my mom to read because it was like, hey, it's got God and the devil and it's all about religion. And then she read it and she was like, you can never read this again. And I was like, damn. So it didn't work out the right, but I kept buying it on the side anyways. But like, so the fact that like when Kyle, I guess, ran into him, I guess at a bar somewhere in one of the conventions and had mentioned, you know, we would love to do a crossover. And he called me and said, "Do you want to do that?" I was like, "Yes, tomorrow. Like, what do you need from me?" And so we got on the phone with Todd and he was, I thought it was going to be this, I was so like nervous. I was like, all right, I got the whole story and all the themes and all the ideas. And it was 30 seconds in, he was like, "Yeah, let's do this." And I was like, wow. And I think probably because I love the issue, I think it's issue, man, I'm going to mess it up. Is it issue 7 or 9? The one with the Angela cover that we Spawn? 7. That's one of my favorite issues of the book because I love the way that it uses or maybe it's 9. It's the one where Medieval Spawn fights.
It's 9, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, 9, where they do the non-linear, the unreliable narrator with the Violator. I remember reading that as a kid and being like, "What, you can do that? You can just have the line, the captions not show you, have everything." I just thought that was like one of the coolest things I've never ever seen before. And so like I was a big fan of that. So yeah, the fact that he's gonna let us use him and have Medieval Spawn in the book, and also the fact that it kind of lined up in a weird way, like. It was like I'm not gonna lie, like there's a reason Caleb was medieval. It's like I was like maybe I was hedging my bets a little bit. Cool. But it ended up working out, and so yeah, I'm really excited that we get to use have Medieval Spawn fall into. Obviously, we'd had him in Supermaster before, but that was when we did that. There was no guarantee that we were ever gonna get to use him again. Like that was a sure, we'll do you a favor, but like we'll see. So. Man, I mean, Todd's the best. I think he's called the Todd Father for a reason.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, it's been that's going to be super exciting. I think we're all looking forward to the next issue for sure. Something I wanted to ask you about the villains, especially the within the last 2 arcs. I was roughly going through here, so I could have missed, but these are the villains we've gotten just in the 2 arcs. Like the first appearance, they might have gotten mentioned. So we have Mad Melody, Lady Calamity, Vane, Suave, that demon girl, and that little elf dude with the axe. I couldn't find their names. Who fought Divinity and
right, yeah.
In the story, yeah.
We had the Raven Sisters, Noxious, Grandma Blood Moon. We had the Sin Core workers who shot Noxious, and now we may have a potential demonic cat in our midst too. So which we saw this issue. So my question for you, and it might be kind of hard to pick like a favorite per se, and it might be one in the future, but we'll say the ones for now. The ones that kind of you've already written. Who do you think is like your best villain, like your best written villain? That you
Good question. My best written one. That's tough. I think I liked Demonica. I really liked the way, like, there was elements about, I like that she can smell like your insecurities, like all the things about you that, like, I like the way that she became sort of this weird, twisted, like, witch character who could like look at you, smell you, and know all the worst things or best things about you. I thought that was a really fun little detail that we found that came out of just like trying to dig into her. I think visually, I think Hellbent's my favorite. I still think Hellbent looks the coolest. And he's coming back in the next arc, and he's got some stuff to do, so it'll be fun. But yeah, and then my favorite is the one in 31, Mr. Poe, which is the first time I've said the name out loud. So yeah. Look at you, I did
awesome.
it. But Mr. Poe is my
That's
favorite
exciting.
because it's something I've wanted to do for a while and stuff. But yeah, it's just a lot of villains. Even as you were going through them, I'm like, what were the names of those 2 villains that fought in Divinity Emperor and Jury?
I tried to find it.
There's one line where they mentioned one name.
I think that might be our fault. I think I had Nick create those. I was like, hey, come on, because I create a lot of them, and I was like, you know what, you make those, and he came up with them, and I don't even think
they were great.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, they were great.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like new change ups in the last arc. We have Ari, of course, is like taking on the mantle of Rogue Sun as well. And we noticed within a couple issues you changed up the color of the armor. Was that just to make things more visually distinct?
Yeah, I think that was just to find a way to bring a little more color in the book, because it's a very orange book, a lot with all the fire and everything. I think we're just trying to find a way to differentiate. We have like 4 different versions of the Rogue Sun armor, right? We have like the white armor, which is now Marcus's. We have the Night Sun armor, and then we have Rogue Sun's armor, and then we had Ari's armor, and I was like, well, we got to figure. We didn't want it to all just be black and silver and stuff like that. Just the variations of the thing. So we're like, what if we? I think it was like that thing where like if you look at metal in a certain way, it kind of has that purple shimmer. So I think we were just going for something that's slightly just brought a little more, just a little differentiation in the arc. Yeah. Might be my lack of detail. I might have been like, I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
It definitely helps for podcasting to tell which is which in these scenes, and it's been really cool to watch.
I love it. It reminds me of like when you're watching Predator, and it's like you watch Predator 1 and you think like that's how all the Predators look, and then you watch Predator 2 and it's like it looks a lot similar to Predator 1 with a little bit of changes, and then you see like the future Predator movies and they look completely different. Like there's the essentials, just the hair, the mask, the face with the teeth, but sometimes it changes in terms of like their like physical structure, in terms of their hair, in terms of. So I thought that was a really cool way to like spice up the legacy of the mantle itself, which is to have like all these different unique looks. Some of them, match with their respective culture or era, the contextual in that sense. But I really love that about the mantle of the Rogue Sun in particular. I think that's one of the most interesting things about the whole series. And I guess I want to ask you. This is more of a macro question. One of the things that we've seen in superhero comics in particular, whether they're corporate comics like Batman with Gotham City or Superman with Metropolis or whatever, or they're indie comics like Rogue Sun with New Orleans or Radiant Black with Chicago, like how does New Orleans shape the story? What significance does its atmosphere bring to the supernatural and superhero elements in the story?
Good question. I've never lived there, but I was there for that's where I proposed to my wife, and that is where I spent several weeks there. My wife was a writer and preacher, and so she was on the show, and they were doing her episode, and she was like, "Hey, I know you're." I was like, I think we are off on the show I was working on at the time, and she was like, "Do you want to come out for a few weeks and just sort of like I have an empty hotel room that I'm not using for 8 hours of the day because I'm at work. Do you want to use it and you can just like wander the city and write?" And I was like, absolutely. So I went out there and I just spent, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks just wandering New Orleans. And it is perfect for like a superhero comic because it has, I think I probably said this before, but like what's so cool about it is like at the center you have like, think of it as like a tree with rings, right? Like at the middle of the city you have all the touristy stuff. You have Bourbon Street, you have just sort of all the bars and like all the tourist attractions are right in the middle, right? And then if you go a little farther outside the city, then you get into some of like the you get into the music scene. You have Frenchmen, you have I can't remember all the names of the streets at the moment right now, but like you have all of the stuff around it, all the jazz clubs and the music places and all that stuff. And then you go a little farther outside of that, and now you're getting into all the historical stuff because that town's over 200 years old or something like that. And I think it was a Spanish fort that they got taken over by the French, and then they redid it all. Like a lot has all this crazy history and stuff. And then you go outside of that, and now you're getting into the glades. Now you're getting into like the southern area of it all. So it has all these incredible, which has like plantations and the wildlife and just all that stuff. And it just because it has so many different layers, it has. And then also because it's below sea level, you have all these crazy cool graveyards above ground graves, which just look amazing. Like every shot, if you've ever seen like any movie, there's a movie called Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is like the whole movie looks amazing just because they've got all these crazy because they're running through graveyards the entire time. So yeah. And also it has this natural, like whether or not it's deserved or not, it has sort of this natural supernatural sort of like element to it. There's voodoo and like it's just like it's in the culture and it's in the sides and there's tourist stuff, all that stuff. Am I cutting out a little bit or is this okay?
No, perfect.
Okay, cool.
All good.
But yeah, so like it has all that stuff, and so I was like, wow, there's just so much stuff I can have a little bit of everything. If I want tourists, I go to the center of the city. If I want to go into the rural areas, I do that. It has all the elements you want. I can see why they shoot so many movies there. And also what's even great is it has such specific cool cultural stuff. There's a line I've had 2 or 3 people talk to me about this. There's a point where Dylan gets brought into the house after he's moved in with the Bells. And they're like, if you want, there's beignets in their kitchen. And he goes, I hate beignets. And I've had so many people from New Orleans be like, can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, fuck that guy. Like, they're just so mad that anybody from New Orleans would hate beignets. But I'm like, of course he would hate beignets. He's an asshole. So there's so much good stuff. There's like the cooking and it has so much a rich history already. It feels perfect to build from. I mean, we talked at one point about like maybe we have our own fictional city, but I was like, there's no way I'm going to come up with as many cool things in a fake city than if we just use the one that's already there and it already has all this great stuff.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Like, I remember watching True Detective, like the first season, and it was in Louisiana. I remember, and I was like, all the settings, especially when they were in the swamp areas and like near, like the areas that looked like the glades. It was gross and eerie, and it had that like supernatural sense to it. Like anything could pop out of any bush or grass, so like I really love that about Rogue Sun because like you have these dynamic settings. It's very different. You got the woods, and you got like nice areas like the city itself, the downtown. So I love seeing that contrast and the colors that you bring to each pages, like the team when they're illustrating it, Natalia Marquez when she's doing her amazing stuff. So yeah, like I love that getting into the head, like seeing how you thought about it, because clearly there was a lot of thought put into it.
Yeah. I just kind of fell in love with it. I just wandered around, and like if you just walk like Abaddon Park, which is this giant park on like the southeast or southwest side of town, if you go through there's a very specific type of tree there that it just has like all these like moss that grows on it in different ways, and it's like no other stuff. There's just so many things that are like no other place because of that. And it's like, and that's what's been fun is like I send those to Abel and I'm like, hey, like this is the way these certain types of buildings work. And there's a little bit of a Gothic thing, but not in like a New York Gothic element. It's got a little bit more of a rural Gothic. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, I guess talking about travel a little bit. I wanted to ask you about your trip. It's crazy how busy you've been, but you were able to go to London for a little bit, and it was funny actually. I was going out at the exact same time, and I was able to meet you at the the comic book shop. I forget what it was called, but it was a really cool comic book shop.
Forbidden Planet, right?
Yeah, Forbidden Planet. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was super cool. So that was a fun time. But yeah, I was wondering, did you find any inspiration for any of your current or future books for that? And did you do much writing in general at all, or was it kind of hard?
Not as much. I will say when we went into Forbidden Planet, the funniest thing is everybody told me I had reached out to them and told them I was going to be there, and they're like, "We'll do a signing." And I walked in there, and if you've ever been to Forbidden Planet, it's in this it's on the West End, so it's on this very, very busy area, lots of malls and sort of retail stuff. And I went in and I looked around, and there was no comics. I was just like, oh, it was just like I was like a lot of anime. And then because I didn't know there was a basement, so I like walked around. And I'm like, hey, we're not gonna sell anything. And then I finally walked in. It was like, oh, and you go downstairs, and then downstairs is twice as big, and it's all comics and manga and whatnot. Crazy. But it's like crazy. But that was the one thing that was kind of funny. I was like, oh man, this is like no one's gonna want to see me there. But that place is amazing. That was a great store. I really loved it. And it was nice meeting you again in person. It was nice to it was really fun. I loved London. I think it's maybe my favorite city in the world. It is just an absolutely wonderful wandering city. You can just get on a train and go anywhere. I wrote a lot of Rogue Sun sitting in the British National Museum, which was really fun. I don't remember exactly which books I was writing. I think I was writing 2 issues while I was there. But it's just a wonderful city, and the food's actually really good. I know people kind of rip on it for food, but I liked it a lot. And it just like you can just go anywhere. I live in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles has absolutely horrible public transport, and so going anywhere is like a huge pain in the ass. Here, my buddy's like, hey, you want to meet me in the city to go get some chicken? I'm like, let's do it. Like, it's just not a problem. You just jump on, you go. I went and saw a ton of plays. It was great. I highly recommend it. I don't think Dylan will be going to London anytime soon. But you never know. Like, I'm like, oh, that could be fun. Maybe he has like, it's like, what would be like? It would be like Rogue Sun, Far From Home or something like that. We could do
Oh, that'd be great.
We saw that Dylan's got a new weapon since last time we talked to you. He's got the cool new flail, which I think is pretty badass. Is there any specific reason why you chose the flail for Dylan?
Funny thing is it's called the Morning Star.
Okay, I thought it was just when it was like attached to the stick, like the Morning Star.
Technically, yes, you are correct. When it's attached to the stick, it's called the Morning Star. But when we were going through weapons, I think it actually came from like conversations you guys had, which was like if Night Sun has a blade, like then he has to have one. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I just got a little worried because I worry about escalation sometimes in comics where it's like, okay, now that he has like a giant ball and chain, like why would he not use that every single time? And I didn't want the story to turn into him just swinging that all the time. And then the other part was I had like tried to figure out like what it was going to be. We talked about some other weapons, but what was really funny was we had to think about like, well, why doesn't he have it yet? Like, why hasn't he used it? And I love the idea. I was like, that Marcus was like, no, I don't trust you swinging around a giant piece of like I just like that. It felt so true to Marcus. He was just like, did I have a weapon the whole time? He's like, yeah, you did. I just didn't want to give it to you until the moment when he absolutely had to give it to him. And then he just absolutely goes to town on the what's his name? The Philistine. And so I love that. I love that it became this weird moment of like, fine, if I don't want you to die, so I'll give you this thing that I've been holding out on you the entire time. And Dylan gets to be like, dude, like, it just like my thing with them is always, I like that we could use the weapon as 1 step forward, 2 steps back with their relationship all the time, where you get to that thing where it's like, just when you think those guys are on the same page, it's just like, oh yeah, by the way, you could have had this the whole time. It would have made your life a lot easier, but I didn't trust you. And so that's why we ended up doing it. But the weapon we chose, because it was called the Morning Star, and also I just think that idea of the giant flaming chain with the ball, it just fits his energy so much better than I think. And so I really like that. I thought it was like a fun kind of, the fact that it's called the Morning Star too, I was like, well, now we gotta use it. Yeah,
exactly. He's not like a skilled fighter or anything, so I don't think he'd be using a sword or something.
No.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. He's getting pretty good with it though. He's getting better. Yeah.
He is. Vanessa, right? He named it Vanessa.
That's right.
That was great.
That's right. Didn't Radiant Black call him out on it? He's like, you didn't name that after one of your girlfriends, did you?
He did.
I mean, hey, he saved the day with one blow. Can't say the same for Marshall. So
he did.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great story. So let's talk a little bit about this arc because it's very like there's a lot of unexpected twists, and the first of which obviously is giving Ori the access to the power to the stone and having her become a rogue sun. So Rogue Sun number 25 marks the turning point as Ori becomes the second Rogue Sun. How did you decide to introduce her in this role, and what does she represent for Dylan and the series?
Good question. We did it in some ways. One of the things Kyle keeps reminding me, and God bless him for doing it, is you have to keep changing the story. We have to keep finding ways to make this book not feel like it's just Rogue Sun flying around, find a villain, putting him in the, beating him up, putting him in like a little crystal, and then moving on to the next villain. Because if you do that over and over again, people are going to get bored. And as much as I'd like the book to go on, like I like those stories. Like I'm a big fan of the old school style of like the Batman comics where you could just pick it up and that's the status quo. But in modern comics, like you do have to keep finding ways of changing and evolving the status quo a little bit. And so we started talking about that. And so we bounded around a whole bunch of other stuff. Sorry, am I good? It just feels like my computer's all jank. Like,
you're good.
Perfect.
Oh,
You're
good.
all
Okay,
good.
I won't worry about it anymore. Sorry.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
you're all
cool.
good.
Sorry. It's a very old computer. This thing's like 9 years old. It's just like I have to wind it. No, it's ridiculous. But we started talking about it, and one of the things that came out was Nick and I were talking about it, and we're like, this is a story about a family. It's called Rogue Sun for a reason. It's a story about a father and son. And we started talking like, so how do we use a change in the status quo as a way of evolving the family story? And I was a nanny for, I guess it was like 6 years, maybe that time when I was in my mid-20s. And I was nannying 2 kids. One of them, they're both professional baseball players. One of them threw out Shohei Ohtani on a third base 3 days ago, which is awesome.
That's so
yeah,
awesome.
I'm a Dodger fan too. And I was like, oh, yeah. But anyway, so those 2 kids, what was really interesting about being a nanny for them was they both played like I said, they both were baseball players, but for the first year together, they were on 2 different teams. And then suddenly they were on the same team, and they went from being guys who really loved each other to being very, very competitive. And what I realized, it was because their identity amongst the team was being this thing. And then suddenly they felt that identity sort of like being encroached upon by the other one. And even though they loved that person, they didn't. It was a weird moment for the older one to watch the younger one come in and be better than him at the thing that he had been known for. And so I thought, oh, there's a really interesting story here of having Ari come in after you've got Dylan to a point where he's actually like starting to do a good job as Rogue Sun, to have Ari come in. And what if she was a little bit better? What if she is that thing? Because we talked so much in the story about how she would have been the right person to be Rogue Sun, but because Marcus loved her so much and was afraid to watch what happened to her, he didn't make her that. And so it just seemed like a really nice point of bringing her in and having Dylan go, wow, like, shoot, like she's better than me. Like maybe I don't have to do this my whole life. Maybe I don't. It just created a really interesting moment of, we had made it like such a straight point of like, oh, you're stuck being Rogue Sun. Well, what if you're not stuck being Rogue Sun? What if you have a whole other life ahead of you? What if you have stuff like it doesn't have to be. And so it just felt like a really great way of shaking up the dynamic between Dylan and Marcus in a new way. And also, in some ways, you might be able to actually show Ari could ultimately be the reason why you see that Dylan is the right person for Rogue Sun, depending on which way we look at it. So that was the thing that I liked about it. I like that it took the story and folded it back into a family story. And as you see it already in the last 2 arcs, like the relationship between Marcus and Dylan and Ari is a work in progress, as I say.
Okay. Just one small follow-up question. At the end of issue 29, you show them being able to see each other for the first time all together, and they joke about it being one big happy family. Like, at what point did you decide that was going to happen? Like, I'm very curious.
Pretty early on. I knew having Caleb be her mentor would be fun. However, I'll just be honest, like it was so hard to write those scenes. Like it was like we had 4 characters in every scene. We had Dylan and Ari trying to talk, and both of them were talking to other mentors, and then those mentors could sort of see each other but couldn't, and then they were fighting the villain who was also dealing with like narration from Morningstar, and I was like losing my mind, and I was just like, there's too many people, because we would get into a scene and I'm like, there's too many people talking, we can't fit everything on the page. And so what I was like, I realized really quickly that I was like, I like Caleb there, but I don't think Caleb provides. He's like almost emotionally disconnected. It became a different kind of story with Caleb there. It was almost this weird conversation about forgiveness and like, can you change? You go from being like his intentions for what he did, and can he be a better person? And I just was like, I feel like that story got played out. So I just really quickly was like, I would say I probably figured it out probably around 22 or 23. I was like, okay,
That's cool.
Let's flip it out there, just because I felt like it. And to be fair, I knew, as you probably are going to ask at the end of 29, that moment between Marcus and Caleb, like that, I've known that moment was going to be there from issue 7 or 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew that. I know about Marcus's secret has been it's in there. It's like,
okay,
if you look, it's in there. Like I knew. I was just
that's
waiting
the big
to figure out a
question.
way. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, if we reread the book, there are hints about Marcus' secret?
Yes.
Okay.
There are two big ones.
A whole bunch of people on Reddit just were like,
I love that.
okay,
I love
it's
that.
I know that there's some hints in there. There's some definite hints in there. There was a line in there before. I think it was in there. Nah, I don't know what to say. I'll have to go read. But there was a line in there before that was way more specific that Caleb said that I was like, I think we're giving away the farm here, guys. You probably need to change this. We tweaked that last minute, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was probably you were talking a little bit about Caleb and Marcus. I think that was the best moment for me of the whole arc. Just seeing them confront each other and talk about Ari and Dylan and kind of their differences. I found it really interesting. Of course, there are different approaches. We see Ari talk down Noxious, and that's kind of the first villain to be talked down. So we see Ari is good at what she does, but I think my biggest question here is we see them talking, and they're talking about kind of how Ari has this built up. She has this interior rage, and she can, I don't know, maybe be manipulated a little bit in some ways. And Dylan is kind of the change maybe the Rogue Sun mantle needs. So my question is this change? I kind of thought of two things. Is it first kind of Dylan not being kind of exposed to this stuff as a kid? Like, Marcus wasn't around. He was never really into this supernatural world until he was older. Or is it just like more of a money thing, and him not maybe being as rich as Ari, Caleb, and Marcus?
I don't. Well, maybe.
Or is it
both.
any of them?
No. I'm just trying to figure it out. Yeah, I think maybe a little bit of both. The way that I looked at it is we got to that moment, and it was really fun to like, we were like trying to figure out what to do with that scene. And I think, like I said, I got really frustrated with like, there's just so many mentors. And I was like, and I remember talking to Nick, and I go, God, like Marcus would hate him. Like he watched him try to kill his family. And I was like, and like, he finally gets to take him on with his own bare hands. I'm like, oh, he's going to love this. Like he would just immediately do that. And so we were trying to figure out if we wanted to do that like fight between, were we going to do like a fight with Noxious at the same time we were having like two fights at the same time, and we're just like in it, like, and it was like we liked the idea that Dylan and Ari were like trying to take on Noxious, and then they just look behind him and they just see the other two guys just going at it, and they're like, what are you guys doing? And so then we were like, then we I feel like if you do a battle, there was a bigger emotional battle between them than just the fighting, right? And so we thought about that, and we're like, well, like, why? Like, does Caleb blame Marcus for like? Because he basically said like, if Dylan was better, like he just doesn't have any faith in Dylan, and the whole reason he made the deal with Morningstar was he was like, I don't trust you to do a better job in your life than me. I'm going to do a better job. I've seen you guys make the same mistake. I want to change this, and so he does, and that's the whole reason is he might not have. And then what's cool is he actually really liked Ari. Even the moment when she beats him, right, like drains him, he's like, "You are good. Like you're the one who gets this stuff done. You've got to." And so I could see him getting angry at Dylan, at Marcus, being like, "Dude, I only turned heel because you did such a shitty job picking the right person because you let your own feelings get in the way." And and it's like, you mad at me? It's like, you're the reason this all happened. And I thought that was a really interesting argument that he made. That doesn't necessarily justify what he does, but at least you understand. And then Marcus having to realize, I thought it was something interesting to have Marcus realize in the middle of the fight why he did what he, like this idea of like, I know what I did, but like, I've been on this kid's shoulder for 24 issues or 28 issues now. And like, you know, like I've seen this guy make some moves, and he's not, and I think coming directly out of that battle where he's like, you know, he lets the kid go at the beginning after the armored car robbery and stuff like that. Like he does play. I like the idea that Marcus has finally started looking at Dylan and going, maybe you are a little like you. It's that thing where your parents start trying to push their beliefs on you and start looking at you as a new person. I think that's what Marcus is doing a little. He's looking at Dylan as a new person and going, okay, he's got a different philosophy and everything. Might not always work, and I don't always love it, but I'm not always right because look what happened here. And so that was what I was playing with that whole thing. But I think he looks at Dylan that way because if you think about Ari, like Ari's got a little bit of a dark streak in her. Like she broke out Demonica. You know, she was like, go kill my new stepbrother or my half brother. Like she's done some stuff. They tried to hack the Sunstone. Like she's not afraid to really push the boundaries, and I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah. I love it when you gave them the powers of some of the demons around, like it was like 18 or 19 or 17, whenever like half the family just switch powers, because it's so perfect for Brock and Ari, because you know they're jealous that they couldn't get the Sunstone, and so they get like a little taste of power. Like I am half expecting Brock to end up with some like werewolf powers on the line or something, but I'm not gonna ask those questions just yet.
I won't spoil anything, but I will say that this, you know what, it's okay because it's not like the main line of the book, but I can just say this, and I'm so excited about this. That relationship between Billy Blood Moon and Brock is one of my favorite
it's great
things that came out. That came up kind of by coincidence. Like we were trying to figure out like who got what with the stones, and I was like, what would Brock look the coolest as? And he's like, oh, we should make him like a giant vampire werewolf, like make the little guy the biggest, right? And but when we wrote it, I remember sitting there and I'm like, the way we had sculptured Billy Blood Moon was he's the youngest in a family of superpowered beings who's trying to prove himself. That was the whole reason he went after Rogue Sun in the second issue, is he wanted to show his dad, look what I could do, and he failed. And I just thought, that's Brock and Billy are both the youngest, and they're both people who are desperately trying to impress the family members at that they're that thing. And I was like, oh, and when we realized that they had something in common, and they ended up working together to build like the thing, I was like, that relationship is going to be very important down the line.
Yeah. Happy accident, but it looked intentional. It was really well done.
It's not that it's not intentional. It's just like, it's fun when you find something that you had written, and then when it clicks into place and suddenly like gives you a line for a storyline, that's the fun. I think is like, trust your future self to see the things that you're tying together, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's very fascinating. I didn't think about that. So honestly, I guess which question do I want to ask first? Let's stick with the arc for now, because I do have a lot of questions for the next. So first of all, congratulations, because Rogue Sun number 25 was the first issue of the entire series to sell out and go back for a second print, which is amazing. You know, like it's very rare for a series, any series, to do it that far in. So it's like, that must have been reassuring in terms of like, we just came back from a mini hiatus, boom, the issue sold out, people are digging this. So I guess my question is, so did you expect that kind of reaction from like putting Ori into that position? What did you think would be the reaction of putting Ori in that position? Like, did you think people were going to like it? Did you think there would be pushback? I'm just curious.
That's a good question. I don't know if I actually had an expectation of how people would react to the story. I think enough people have enjoyed Ari as a character in my interactions online and with people and stuff like that. People have been like, oh, she's entertaining and kind of fun, and she's like a nice little foil to Dylan, I think, in some ways. So I think there was like, I think that worked for the most part. I think there was like, we set up there'd been enough interplay that I think was fine. I had no idea the book was going to sell out. I know we worked really hard to try and get the word out, and Kyle did a lot of promotional stuff for it and had some really clever ideas and stuff like that. So we were really lucky. I dug us a bit of a hole, unfortunately, because, I've just been too busy doing other things sometimes, and I'm a slow writer. And so sometimes that stuff, the books come in a little late, and, I've learned really, 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 unfortunately, the sad part is when you're an indie book, like, you got to make sure your book comes out. Like, if you're late, people will move on to something else, because there's 5 new books every week, and I don't blame them. If you don't know the book's coming in, like, you got nothing to lose. Like, it's like, I'll hit it up in trade. I don't need to. If I'm not holding up my end of the bargain by getting the book out on time, I shouldn't expect readers to stay with me. So I learned that. So we've been trying really, really hard since then to try and get the book. I think we might have missed 1 or 2 deadlines with 28 and 29, but we're back ahead again, which is nice. So we're back on it. But yeah, that was the real thing. It's been really nice. Like, most people I've talked to have been very complimentary of the book. I haven't met, there's like maybe one guy on YouTube who hates me, but other than that, but I hate that I even acknowledge that guy exists, because like, I've never watched one of the reviews. I just, whenever I type it, whenever I'm having a low moment and I go on YouTube, I'm like, what are people saying about Rogue Sun? And then I'm like, this dude comes up and he's like hating every single thing. I was like, all right, whatever. Thanks for buying the book. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I appreciate it. No bet, I guess so. But like, people are really cool about it, and like, it's like, I will say this. I think this is answering your question, but I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and I was standing on. I just got off the train coming down from LA. I was standing on the, like, waiting to get on the little, like, the metro to get to the station, and I'm standing there, and a guy from, like, across the thing goes, "Dude, are you Ryan Parrott?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I love Rogue Sun." And I was like, "Awesome." And I got that 3 more times before I got to the hotel. And
that's good. Yeah.
And it usually 5 years ago it was, "I love Power Rangers. That's awesome." Now it's Rogue Sun, which is way more.
Yeah, because it's your baby.
That's my baby. Yeah, it's like, I'm happy people like Power Ranger stuff, and I get it. I like that stuff too.
But it's not like, the same.
Not the same. No. But
this is your thing. Someone saying they love your thing. It's very fulfilling. No, I'm so happy for that. Yeah. Like, I would do that if I saw you. I'd be like, "Hey, Ryan, Rogue Sun fucking rules." Like,
to be fair, it might have been the same person following me to my hotel. I don't know.
That's true. So that's a good point. Yeah. I know that's incredible. Honestly, I just want to say one thing. Like, I'm really surprised by how good the clips that you guys have been putting together as promotions for each issue have been. Like, they actually do a lot of they get a lot of traction online. Yeah. And and I'm so happy for you, because Johnny Young Bosch is like the voice actor for Rogue Sun. How did you feel about it? First of all, when did you know about that, and how did you feel seeing that come to life?
So I've known Johnny for a while. I've been it's really fun to be at a convention next to Johnny, because Johnny always has a gigantic line of people because of all the anime work he's done. And Power Ranger stuff too, but like, he's prolific, and I don't think even I knew how prolific he was in sort of the animation voice actor world. He's really, really, really good. And I went to dinner with him and some friends, and we hung out. He was like a really nice guy, and I ended up pitching him a bunch of the Power Ranger stuff that I'd done, and how much I liked this character and all that stuff. And then Kyle and him have stayed friends for a while over other reasons. And so when we were talking about doing these promos, he was like, "How do you feel about Johnny doing it?" I was like, "Dude, he's not gonna do it. Like, he's too busy." And he was like, "No, it's like not a lot. I mean, he's pretty into it." And I was like, and then they sent me the first run, and I was like, "Wow, that's perfect." Because like, look, I love when you can get like big name actors to do stuff. That's cool. But there's something about professional voice actors who know how to like do stuff with their voice. They know there's just something they just know those tricks, and he knows how to do it, and it's really cool. I was at San Diego Comic-Con, and I don't know I'm telling you this, but it's just fun. There was I was walking through the main floor, and Mark Thompson, I don't know if you guys know who Mark Thompson is. Mark Thompson is he does Star Wars novels. He did all the Thrawn novels. He just did Superman, All-Star Superman audio drama that just came out with Megan Fitzmartin. Yeah. He did that, and I recognized him, and I was like, "Dude, like, I love your stuff," because he's just like, he does those. He's like, he does the whole book. He's like, but it sounds like but he almost sounds like a one person cast. If you ever get excited, go read the Thrawn trilogy that he did, because he does Anakin in there, but he does Anakin almost like Keanu Reeves. And it's amazing. And he's just sort of like, Padme, I don't know what's going on. It's just the most amazing version of Anakin. And so I told him about that. Anyways, I love Mark, and I have a big thing for all the like the audio actors. So like, you know, maybe if we have another character for Mark to play at some point, that'd be pretty awesome.
That is amazing.
Anyway.
I'm gonna go a little bit off comics here, but I'm gonna try to weave back into it. So it was last week I went and saw Weapons, like I'm sure many of us did, and it was a blast. So on the weekend I was kind of in a horror mood, and I dove in and did an Evil Dead binge. And then I totally didn't know you did a Death to the Army of Darkness book. So I bought that. I bought the trade, and I was reading through that this weekend, and that was a blast. There's so many crazy moments. There is a possessed dog in that as well.
There is.
I don't know if there's any inspiration there, but no, there's some crazy stuff in there. But I was wondering, like, I'm sure, I don't know if it's just Evil Dead or you're a big horror fan in general, but have these movies inspired like a lot of like your character designs and stuff for Rogue Sun at all?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for picking that up, by the way. I really enjoyed writing that. That was one of the first times.
It was great.
Thanks. Like, it kind of went and kind of came and went, unfortunately. Like, that was one of those things. The editor called me and was like, hey, we want to do Guardians of the Galaxy with Evil Dead. And I was like, what? And then he explained kind of what they were thinking, and I was like, "Oh, that could be kind of fun." And then we did it like a 5-ish thing. It was really, really fun to like try. Like, he's just such a fun character to write. Like, he's just like, you can't like. It's also great him with him and 4 other versions of him. It's just like, you know, Chris Campbell. It's like, what are you gonna do? So like that was really fun. So thank you. I also saw Weapons this weekend too. Nice. But I think it's definitely, I love that. I mean, that's the thing that was when we first started with Rogue Sun, that was my motif. I was like, I want to do all the villains. I want them to be like variations off of traditional horror villains, you know, like vampires and werewolves and stuff. But like, can you take that archetype and then turn it a little bit into a supervillain? And that was the part, because I was like, maybe that'll it seemed consistent with the world that we created with the New Orleans of it all. But also it felt like a way to, like a shorthand for you to be like, oh, I understand where all these villains came from. I understand how this all came. Like, it was like, Kyle has a very strong, like, technological sort of unifying element. And mine was sort of like, how do I use like a supernatural unifying element? It just meant like, maybe there was this idea that Morningstar had been giving these powers for hundreds of years, and that all the supernatural creatures you've ever seen and have been in lore came from this one source. That was sort of the idea. I don't know if that's still consistent with what we've done, but that was the idea. So yeah, definitely every horror movie I see, I definitely am trying to find ways to implement that stuff. But yeah,
love that.
If you like that book, Charlie, read Dead Day. Like he wrote Dead Day. It's really good. It's like once a year. There's this town they celebrate. Yeah, this macabre like holiday. They just come back and they rise from the dead for a day, and then until sunset, and it gets fucked up. I highly recommend it. It's good. Yeah.
I have a new book coming out in September called "It Killed Everyone But Me," which is another horror book. Basically, it's like it follows a girl 20 years after surviving, sort of like her friends are basically slaughtered at a cabin getaway. And she survives, and 25 years later, she has to dig up the monster that did it in order to stop it from happening again. It's like
that's cool.
Silence of the Lambs kind of thing, yeah.
Who's that with? Who are you publishing that with?
That with Mad Cave.
Okay, cool.
Ooh, okay, very exciting. Okay,
yeah. They're fun. They do some cool stuff. They take some chances, and this is something I've been wanting to do for a while because I just like same thing. I love Chucky. I love talky villains. They're so much fun. And so I wanted to make my own talky villain. And so I created a villain called the Heathen that's really fun and like a lot of weird. It's like Loki meets Freddy Krueger.
Yeah. So I guess my next question is one of them you already answered, so I'm getting rid of. The other so looking back at this arc so far, Rogue Sun. From origin to dual rogue sons and moral crossroads and sibling rivalries, you can even say, what do you hope that readers take away from this journey?
From the whole journey of Rogue Sun?
No, just this past arc of like the journey between between like Ori and Dylan in particular.
I guess I wanted it to feel like they're coming together. Like they're starting to figure out what's funny is like I think it had been sort of pitched as like Ari versus Dylan. And it is, but it isn't. Like they're both fighting for the same thing. So like they should be working together, but it's more about them sort of finding that middle ground where they can sort of respect and work together while being sort of overseen by, their father. And like they're working through sort of their emotional problems at the same time, or their emotional things. Like she doesn't call him his brother until I think when she swallows Demonica, she never calls him her brother until that moment. And so like she's coming around to the fact that like, they are siblings. And so I like to think about, I think this arc was for me taking the idea of two people who are reluctantly working together and then hopefully starting to sort of see the benefits of actually working together. And also, who's the favorite, I think is really that's what we're going. Like who's the favorite child? And we've known who the favorite child's been for a while, but like maybe that changes. And how does Dylan was sort of the de facto favorite just because of the circumstances. And now how's he going to feel about that? How does Ari going to feel about that? If Marcus had to choose between one or the other, which choice would he make? Is that choice changing? I guess is like, I don't know. I'm sort of teasing up more than I'm actually revealing, but yeah, I think though, to be fair, outside of the characters, that we really did want that story to be about who is the bad guy. Like what is the definition of a bad guy? Like if Noxious, so many of the villains that we created up to this point were people who wanted revenge on something, people who felt they'd been slighted by the world and then wanted to inflict the same pain that they went through. And I think Noxious is one of the, outside of Alienator, Noxious is the first character that we really wanted to go. We tried to make him look as vicious and evil as possible, and then reveal that he's not that at all. And I kind of liked. I was actually afraid people would be mad when Dylan was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to stop that guy," like because I liked that he was like, "No, what he just did. Like if that was my family, I would go kill these people too. I am not going to do it. If you want to go deal with that, that's on you." And then he does not get involved again. He only gets involved when it's just like, you do realize Ari could die. And he's like, God damn it. And then I love that Brock flipped that line of like, it's exactly what Dad would do. And he's like,
that's what did it. Yeah, that sent him right out the door.
He's like, you son of a bitch. So I like that. I like that we had a hero who was like, imagine if Batman was just like, you know what, Mr. Freeze is not wrong. I'm gonna go home. And I just thought that was what made it interesting to me, was that a character could actually be like, no, I'm not gonna fight that guy. And then I like that Ari was able to beat him, but in her own way. She was able to do it through empathy, which is something she's not real great at. And so I think both of them sort of learned a little bit of like, I think they both found their own paths in that arc.
I'm glad you mentioned Noxious, because I agree with everything you said, and I think it's a perfect segue to my next question. So Noxious, I think, and I hesitate to call him a villain at this point, having, spoiler, if you've read issue 29, I feel like that label now is contentious. Like, you can remove it altogether. So Noxious could have easily been a one-note villain, but his motives hint at something more complex. I mean, there's a lot of emotional complexity there. How much do you plan these villain backstories before they appear on page? And I think Matt mentioned this before, so I'll just ask on his behalf. He was wondering if Noxious is based or influenced somewhat by Luigi Mangione.
Or is it like a happy accident?
A little bit of a happy accident. He was definitely influenced by Luigi a little. Luigi, I like when Luigi came out, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna actually have a first real supervillain. Like we're gonna have a guy, because I actually thought he was gonna become this sort of like speaker from prison, like causing movements. Like I thought he was gonna, like, I really thought that was gonna happen. I was like, oh man. And then he's kind of gone quiet, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right, we'll see what happens. But I just thought there was something really interesting about watching that happen in real life, because it felt like almost like Scream or something like that, where it's like someone had watched film and TV and was like, wait a minute, maybe I could do this in real life. If he had like the videos made and all that stuff, he could have become the voice of a generation. Like he really could have. For better or worse. I'm not justifying what he did. I'm just saying, looking at it from an outside storytelling perspective, I was like, this could happen. Gotta watch. I'm like, Ryan Parrott supports Luigi. It's like that's not what I'm saying. I'm just, as looking at it from an outsider in, I was like, I could definitely see how this could go. Anyways, but yeah, that was definitely something we were playing with. We actually designed him as a one-note villain, and then kind of realized that it worked better to keep him going. Like I wrote that issue and then we were just like, oh, we can kind of get rid of him. And then we're like, well, wait a minute. It made more sense as we were breaking the story to like have him stick around and to use him as a cautionary tale. So it's like we kind of it came out of the arc. The arc sort of told me what to do, if that makes sense. Like I had this this is probably too much information, but I had this idea of wanting to do a little bit more like a Tom King style of writing going into issue 25 and coming out and making it more chapters and like more like, so you get like something out and then the books would be less 5-6 issue story arcs and more like singular like chapters. And just like every time I tried to do it, it felt stutter steppy. It felt like I was doing a whole bunch. It felt even less like things were moving forward. And so, and Tom does it in such a brilliant way that I think you have to design the story in a very specific way for that to work.
Sure.
And I felt like it wasn't working. So like, that's why stuff was designed that way. And then I was like, my instincts kicked in and I was like, no, let's just make this a real story. So it came out of me wanting to try. I'm always trying to make sure that when you pick up an issue of Rogue Sun, that you get your $3.99 or $4.99 for it. Like I don't want it to just be a recap of the first beginning, a cool little fight in the middle, and then a cliffhanger at the end. I want there to be some meat on the bones. There needs to be something that happens in that issue that you go, oh, that's what that issue is. Otherwise, I think comics are single issues are in real trouble. And so, that's what I was trying to do. So that's what it started as. But yes, to answer your question, yes, he did start as a one-off villain. And then I just felt like there was a little bit more meat on the bone. And I'm actually really happy that he ended up staying in there because I think he became one of the more interesting. I think what was cool is like we'd done the one-off villain so many times that you might have expected it. And so when we didn't, it was like, oh, wait, this guy's going to stick around a little longer. Okay.
Yeah.
Why? And I think it made you ask why. Yeah. And then in the same way that Rogue Sun had to ask why, I think it worked out that way.
Yeah. And he was so eager to change the status quo by like disrupting the system so that no one had to deal with the insurance stuff. And instead he was pivotal in getting everybody outside of the jewelry shop. So I thought it was really, really well told.
Yeah. Morningstar had a plan for him. If you go back and watch that thing, he's like, we're going to use you for like, this is an upgrade, dude. Oh, was it? Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it's very socially relevant too. I think it's like very on, like you had your finger on the pulse of what's happening right now around the world in terms of sentiment around things like that. And I think it like readers can identify with that and be like, yeah, like I understand this. I'm seeing this in the world around me right now. And it's like, it's crazy. So I thought
there's a very strong confrontation going on right now between parents and kids, or generational stuff going on. I'm not going to get into what, but in a lot of stuff, there's these things that I think parents have been like, oh, that's the way it's always been. And then there's kids going, why has it always been that way? Why are those the good guys and why are those the bad guys? Is it because you tell me those are the good guys and the bad guys, or do I get to decide for myself? And if I decide for myself, are you still going to be my parents? I'm not going to get into what that is, but I think we can probably infer what that is, right? But there's a lot of that. It comes down to even smaller stuff. It comes down to global stuff. I find those arguments very interesting. I find that disconnect between the older generation and younger generation. It's just like that thing. Like there's a whole, like my parents never had the internet. You know what I mean? Like it's a very different world. Think about, like, here's a terrible football analogy, but like I've been watching stuff that's going on recently like that. Fans are freaking out over practices. 20 years ago, no one knew what was happening in practices, and it just changed the way that we absolutely obsess on the littlest things, but like we've been trained to do that, and I just find that interesting. I find how just the generational shifts in how we absorb information, how we react to information, really interesting, and I especially like it when you get to see the differences between the thing. And I think Marcus and Dylan and Ari are really fun to do that with.
Yeah, right.
Man, I'm talking about everything. I apologize. I've had too much.
No, it's great. It's actually amazing because it all comes together and it's somewhat tied to the central theme. So it's amazing. Yeah. I just want to say, speaking on what you mentioned about Tom King and structure, if I could give some just like based on what I've read. I don't know if you've been exposed to it, recently, but I would highly recommend 2 different writers, both of which are some of my favorite writers right now, who I think fuck with structure a lot, and they actually are. Like I think still underrated, but one of them I think is really underrated. Is William Maxwell Prince, who's writing Ice Cream Man.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah. So
Superman, yeah, that's
and he's doing the new Superman book, which is literally just basically like Superman, like there's a whole bunch of new kryptonite, and they just want to like basically he's just like, let's try these drugs because we have to know what they do to me, because what if someone does this to me? So it's like it's great. But yeah, Maxwell Prince on Ice Cream Man, I highly recommend check that out, just because like there's a lot of play with structure, but the stories are very poignant and honestly they're very depressing. But it's like I'd argue like it's probably the most underrated comic out right now. Like it's like one of the best books. Yeah, it's every issue is incredible. This guy is a freak in terms of how like
it's an anthology book that should not work as well as it does. You know, like a lot of people want to do anthologies and they don't quite work. And that one, for some reason, every time you read that issue, you're like, man, is that the best one yet? Yep, that was best. You know, it feels like that. Yeah, he's pretty good. Yeah.
And then the other one is Dennis Camp on Assorted Crisis Events, which is another anthology book that just came out.
Assorted Crisis Events? I don't know that one.
Yeah, it's just literally about like imagine that like a real life, like the DC crisis kind of happened in real life and time's all like fucked up and like everyone's relationship with time is different. So it causes all these weird things to happen. It's really good. It's like every issue is its own thing. So it's like you can literally just pick up any issue and they're so good. Like this guy is literally doing something crazy with that book that I feel like everyone who's reading it is like aware, they're like raving about it, but I feel like it still deserves more hype. Like it's so good. Yeah, those guys I recommend. Like I feel like they're even pushing beyond, like so much more innovative in terms of like I know Tom King loves his 9-panel grids.
He does love that.
Yeah, and he's great at that. But these guys, the way they play with structure, like even in the recent Superman Kryptonite Spectrum issue with Maxwell Prince, it's like literally the Ice Cream Man team is doing that issue. Like literally.
No, I'll check it out. I didn't know he was doing Superman. It's amazing.
Dude, it's so good. They fuck with time. They like give Superman this kryptonite that messes with his ears and his understanding of time. So he's hearing things from the future and seeing scenes from the future while he's in the past and responding to them. And the way they structured the panels to show you like the impact of that is one of the coolest things I've seen in a comic. And these guys are, like, I don't know what drugs they're on, man, but it's the good shit. It's the good shit. I can tell you that.
That's the problem. I'd be a much better writer if I did a lot of drugs. I'm sorry.
Hey man, I'm just saying. Grant Morrison, I think, made a case for that. So that's all I'm just saying.
Yes, when I start imagining that I am Dylan Siegel, you'll know I've reached my Grant Morrison stage.
It's like someone's like, you get an email, just like, I'm in the Sunstone right now. I can't respond.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Charlie, you had a question?
Yeah. I got one more Rogue Sun question, and then I got a couple of Vicarious questions for you. But one thing I wanted to mention, I didn't want this stuff to go unmentioned, but yeah, this one of the best things about the last arc, I guess it is just the last arc, has been all Marcelo's retro homage variants that have been absolutely outstanding. And I just quickly wanted to know, do you have a favorite, and like do you have like a close tie to any of those homage issues?
Oh yeah, I mean, I begged for the Days of Future Past one. I just love that image. It's just like, it was funny though, because like I actually had to go check it to make sure there was a character that wasn't on the board. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't want the variant to not be canon. I was like, wait a minute, we got a problem there. But thankfully you couldn't see it, so that worked out. I love that one. I think they're great. It's so funny, like how much I enjoy those, and it's just like, it was so fun to talk to Kyle, and I were like talking about which ones we wanted to do, and we'd send ideas back and forth and stuff like that. And so there's a few that we weren't able to do, but everyone, I loved all of them. They're so cool, and people really, really like them. Like I've had people come up to convention, and they were like, "Oh my god, that's amazing!" And it's just like there's just certain things, you know, we just like the images and like it's like it's nostalgic, but also like weirdly like alternate. I don't know, it's cool. I love that stuff.
It's so unfortunately not the easiest to find, but yeah,
I know.
They're sweet. Yeah, I got the Radiant Black versus Rogue Sun one, like the Superman Spider-Man cover. That's the only one I got my hands on. But yeah,
give me your address. I'll send them to you. I got all of them.
Okay. I will say no.
I got.
They're in my garage. So you can have them.
I appreciate that.
Speaking of, actually, Ryan did send us signed covers before to give away, and we've been giving away slowly. So we want to give one away today. So how we're gonna do this, like literally just leave a comment and we'll randomize and pick a winner. So we just want to, thank everyone for being here, being part of it. We love doing this. We love Rogue Sun, and there's so much more to come. We've already been preparing Rogue Sun trivia 2, and with all like 2 arcs since we've started preparing it. So like that's a lot of new questions we're gonna ask, and we're gonna make it hard. We're gonna make it hard. So
And just be
lots of
grateful there's one
villains.
timeline, unlike Radiant Black Trivia. So
That's true. That is true. So I got 2 Rogue Sun questions, and then we'll do Vicarious and close it out because we have to talk about Vicarious because it's so good.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
So you're welcome. Thank you. My 2 questions are: the first one is, if budget, time, and continuity were no object, what's the one absolutely wild Rogue Sun scene you've always wanted to write?
What, Rogue Sun scene?
Yeah, think like artist constraints, no issue. It doesn't matter how many characters you want to put in. Literally whatever you want. What's the one scene you've always wanted to do that you haven't done it? You're just like, no, this would be crazy, but like, oh my god.
I mean, there's not really much that we. So I learned this pretty early on in Power Rangers. They were like, don't hold back. Like, don't wait for your next arc to do it now. Like, do it as fast as you can, because you're not guaranteed you're going to get the next arc. You're not guaranteed you're going to get stuff online. So most of the stuff that we've done, I think that's one of the reasons I don't think, hopefully, knock on wood, that the book doesn't feel like it's filler, because I'm just throwing the stuff. Like, whenever I come up with it, I'm like, that's what we're doing. I'm not planning far down the line. To be fair, for Michael's sake, I finally did map out 31 through 36 and gave him like an outline, and I was like, here you go, this is actually what's gonna happen. And he's like, oh, finally, geez, I actually know what's gonna happen. And so we actually can have covers that reveal things now, as opposed to just having posters and whatnot. But to answer your question, is there a scene that I mean, there's a scene that I want to do, but I almost might do it like down the line, so I can't really tell you.
That's
I'm trying. Let me think if there's a scene that I wanted and then I wasn't able to put in any of the books. No, because I'm going to do that too. So I'm going to half answer your question. There is a scene that you know what? We're all friends here. There was a scene that I really wanted to do with Reggie, that I wasn't able to do because I ran out of page space. But I'm actually happy that I didn't, because I might be able to do it in a different way, and it'll actually be better down the line. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Like, I guess I'll just say this. That story's not entirely over.
Okay.
Sure.
Without spoiling,
Yeah.
like, there's a thing that I wanted to do that I thought was like a capper to that relationship that I didn't. And I might not be with Reggie, but I'm going to use it in a different way. So you'll see there's a bow I wasn't able to put there. I know that's not the question you wanted, but that was the one that I took a really cool emotional thing that I really liked. And I was like, because I pitched it when we were doing it to the artist, and he was like, oh wow, we can do that. I was like, yeah, we can try that. And then we just ran out of space, and I was like, we'll hold it. And then the story, kind of went off its own direction, and I was like, I can't fit it in, but we'll see down the line, maybe.
Okay.
Justice for Reggie.
So excited. Okay.
Reggie.
My final question. Okay. I have to read a solicit for this. Okay. This is the Rogue Sun number 30 solicit, releasing October 8th. For anyone wondering, they are doing a 1-month hiatus after each arc. This is, I think, the best case because it allows them to stay caught up on the book, and it's just better for everyone. So the solicit reads, enter Spawn. The year is 1383, and Sir John of York, the medieval Spawn, is searching for the terrifying creature known as the Wither. But a young knight and his squire are also on the hunt, and Caleb Hawthorne, the knight's son, won't give up his target without a fight. Don't miss this historic collision between two of Image's hottest heroes. Very exciting. So you say young knight and his squire. So who is this squire? And and if you can't mention who the squire is, I have to ask: is this part of the reason? Is this part of the reason that Caleb is so like? I guess sorry. Let me restructure.
No, this is you're very. You guys are good at this stuff. I'm like, damn, nothing gets by you guys.
Yeah. So his squire is you did mention that he had a sister before, and that his sister was in a vulnerable situation and that's the reason why he does what he does. Is the squire his sister, or is it a different person?
No, the squire is not his sister. I will tell you that.
Okay.
I don't know if you could have female squires back then. I guess I could have made it that, but I think that would have been weird. I don't know if that's the case. Is that time right? 1383? Is that right?
That's what it
was
says on the
13 some.
solicit.
Yeah.
And it has an asterisk. And it has an asterisk for whatever reason. Whatever the fuck that means.
You know what? It might be because like I don't know if they specifically state when medieval spawn takes place, and I don't. And they takes place. Okay, if there's a mistake, it's only a mathematical. I'm an idiot one. They are taking place in the same time. I don't want people to think that we're like messing around with time. It might just be a typo. So I just FYI about that.
But is this a flashback issue? That's correct.
Yes, this is going to be entirely a flashback issue. Yeah, Dylan and them are not in it. It's only Caleb. But that was just because of the way that we wanted to do it, and also that, like, Caleb being in the story and disappearing at 20 and 29 the way that he does just felt like, okay, this is a natural step there. I can't tell you who the squire is. I can tell you they're important. And the withered design is awesome. I really love the withered design. Yeah, it was the most. Let me see. Do I have any pages I can show? I don't even think I can show any pages. Abel might get mad at me.
That's fair. No, that's all right.
No, that's all right.
That's
all right. Yeah. Anyways, but yeah. There's some. I'll just say this. I was texting with Abel today, and I was like, "You're having fun, aren't you?" And he's like, "Dude, capes are amazing." Because I don't have a lot of capes in my book, and he's just like, "I get to draw a cape," and he's just like, he's having a great time. So he's killing it. It's fun. Medieval Spawn it's so fun. It's such a cool thing because the book's so orange and black, and then you put that red cape in there, and just like bam, it just pops.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Okay.
That's amazing.
All right. Well, that was amazing. That's it for our Rogue Sun portion. We have just a few questions about Vicarious. We don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah,
and then we can close it out because we did really love Vicarious. So in case anyone didn't know, Vicarious was a book by here. I'll pull up the solicit, but it was by it was like literally a full Massiverse team. It was by Ryan with Eleonora Carlini on the artwork, and the colors were by Mattia Iacono. So he did the Dead Lucky colors, and then the letter is Becca. So literally a full
with a variant cover by Becca Carey too. That was one of my favorite covers.
She killed that cover.
Nailed that. We were talking about that forever on that.
When she was at New York Comic Con, I was like, I think you sold the concept of the book and the cover better than anything I had ever had. It was great. Yeah.
Such a good cover. Yeah, it's like a Black Mirror like poster almost. Like
she killed it.
It's surreal. So this book is amazing. It was a 5-issue mini with gorgeous Dan Panosian covers as well. And the solicit is: enter Justin, an aimless 20-something desperate for human connection and excitement. After a dangerous encounter reveals itself as a fortuitous opportunity, Justin finds just what he's looking for in the secret world of proxies: young, pretty, ambitious hustlers like himself who allow the rich access to their feelings and experiences through a technological implant. Does Justin have what it takes to make it in the seductive new world? So that's pretty much the solicit. Awesome book. Obviously, we read it. We reviewed pretty much all of it. I think my dumbass forgot to post the issue 5 review, so I apologize. But we did review the whole thing. Really enjoyed it all around. Like, it was a really good time. What really took us by surprise, I could say, like, I'm speaking for all of us because we all talked about our thoughts already, was like the book ends in a way that's like you genuinely cannot see it coming, because it's like it completely like twists at you like what? And so I was really satisfied with the clever twist. But one of the questions I had was some reviewers noted that while the concept isn't entirely unique, like it's like something we've seen before in different variations, your execution made it feel fresh and meaningful, like watching bad people get rewarded even if it's reluctant. What real world behavior or media inspired the moral gray areas that are explored in this series?
Oh, that's a good question. Real world stuff, I think it was probably, it's funny. There's a friend of mine who's an influencer, and I've done some stuff with her, and I was talking about Vicarious with her, and I remember I was like, yeah, it's kind of a me talking about sort of the influencer generation. And I was like, and then it was clear she'd read the book, and I was like, oh, I didn't mean it the way that it sounded. So I felt kind of bad, but I just thought there was something interesting about somebody like this. That I've always liked the title Vicarious. It's one of those titles that you put on like 5 different projects, and finally you find the right project. And I liked that concept of somebody who didn't know who they were or was trying to escape who they were, and then their way of doing that is basically becoming sort of a puppet for everybody else. And in the middle of that, finding their agency. I thought there was something interesting about that. And so, just in the sense of like, you can see Justin obviously trying to run away from the path that he was on and not really knowing what path to go onto. And so he sort of was one of those people. It's like, I don't know if you've ever met somebody who's like, it sounds bad to say this, but like some people, there's certain people you know in your life who get taken in, like they either become part of a church all the time and they get really into that church, or they get a job and they become really into that job, or that, you know, the thing with that you just find them continually getting not taken advantage of, but just they have a certain type of personality that means they lock into whatever they love. And for Justin, I just felt like he was this person that would like locked into whatever he loved, and then he found that he actually had the ability to sort of become that. He could sort of evolve into the next stage. And so I really liked that idea of a character going from being at the bottom and then finding his path. Whether that was good or bad, I think is sort of up to the eye of the beholder, but it's a complicated like those worlds are complicated, like any sort of like darker fringe level, whether it be, you know, drug abuse or drug dealing or prostitution or whatever that stuff. When you're in those worlds with people who are sort of like walking the fringes of like the law, like nobody's really like not evil. Everybody's just trying to do a job, just trying to get by, you know, and just depends on what levels you're at. So like I think Justin's probably not a good person, but I didn't think he was like the most evil person in the world. I think that was what I kind of wanted. I wanted you to get to the end of the story and you're like, is this a success story? Is this like like am I happy for him? Like I don't think I'm supposed to be, am I? And I kind of wanted that question. I really love the movie Nightcrawler. I think Nightcrawler is one of my favorite movies of all time. And that movie has a similar story where it's like, am I supposed to be rooting for Lou Bloom? I don't know. At the end of the movie, like he got what he wanted, but I don't know if that was if that's better. And there's something interesting about a character that succeeds in a. It's like, are you a hero? So, should you be upset about a character who succeeds in a world when the world is corrupt, or when the world? It's like he's good at the like. It's like, oh, this world messed up, but he's messed up too, and he knows how to maneuver that world.
Hate the game, not the player.
Exactly.
Guess, right?
That's he's better saying this than I am. That's the point. Exactly. I kind of wanted you to walk out of that thing going, well, I guess I could be mad at him, but like he just played by the rules. I don't. Yeah. So that's the better way.
It's like it reminded me a lot of one of my favorite movies of all time, Inception. Like. Because there's a lot of like there he's trying to plant an idea, but he's not necessarily a good person because he's almost like a corporate heist man. Like he's literally like, so he's like trying to implant this idea, but the core of why he's doing that is to connect with his family because like this cabal shadowy guy is like promising him that he could clear his like his fucked up record and make it so that he could be with his family. I found that this was similar in the sense that like there is the idea of implanting thoughts, although it's not here. You're influencing thoughts, right? Like that's the sense. But like you said, there it's more grounded in an emotional core of like it's about a person. This is about the world, and it's like almost like you're trying to find your identity in that world. And I thought like it was so well done. I thought like you did like almost like a reverse Inception because you're just like, like at the end of the day, this guy is like he doesn't even know who he is really anymore. No. By the end, he becomes something.
He's three different people in the story.
Exactly.
You know? He's the one he was, the one he is, and then the one he becomes. And he even changes different names, the different people that he becomes. And I really I love the idea that in the world, everybody is sort of using a different thing. It's like he's using a fake name and a fake identity. And then the person that's over who's in your head, they're using a fake name and a different identity. And even the people that you're working for use a fake name. No one is who they appear to be. Everybody is using is a facade of themselves, or they are projecting an image of what they want to be, right? She even, Sylvia even says that. She's like, I don't want you can go anybody's head, but I want you to be an experience. I want people to want to be in your head. I want people to want to be your best friends. And I like that. Like I actually saw it a little bit like Fight Club in some ways. That thing was like, Tyler Durden is really, 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 it's like, we all want to be best friends with Tyler Durden. Like we want to be the guy, like, and then what's worse is like there's a point where you're like, oh, I don't think we should be friends. This guy's got some messed up stuff. But there's that thing where like you kind of like look at him and you go, that guy knows the right thing. That's the way I think Justin looks at Christian at the beginning. It's like this guy has the world figured out, and I want to figure out the world. So I'm gonna follow that guy and become him. But then like be careful what you wish for, kind of thing. So Yeah. Thank you guys for reading it, though. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun to write.
No, it was
so good. Like I literally just picked it up because like I saw like your name. I mean, everyone's name, all the Masterverse people, and I was like, I'll give this a chance. The synopsis sounded interesting, and the covers are gorgeous. Then I was like super into it.
It was right after Infernals too, so yeah. We knew it was
Infernals
right
was
after
amazing.
Infernals,
yeah.
So like we were like super into it. Yeah, we put it on the Rogue Sun podcast. Like,
awesome!
Thank
you.
Yeah, it was just really we were super into it.
Yeah,
Charlie, you had a question?
That was great. Yeah, I wanted to kind of ask Ryan about the ending. Obviously, Bash said he loved it. I loved it too. I was just kind of wondering, was it always your idea to do like 5 issues? Like at what point was that decided it was going to be 5 issues? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I believe I remember you saying in London something about like the ending not being the easiest, or I think this was right before the ending of Vicarious came out and you were trying to put it together. And it was right around that time.
Yeah. I wrote it with the intention of it was sort of like chapter 1. Like I did kind of know that I had 2 other ideas for chapters 2 and 3, where he like, 1 is his ascension, then 2 would have been sort of his like when it's easy to be the king or become the king, but staying the king is really hard. And so what would have happened if he had tried to stay the king, someone was going to come for him, and then that would have sort of fallen off. And then the third would have been, trying to get your revenge kind of thing. That's what I imagined for the 3 different things. I don't think it sold well enough to get the second and third, unfortunately, but that doesn't mean that won't potentially. We'll see. So I knew I wanted to, because I knew, look, I've done enough independent comic books now to know that like you usually get 5 or 6 issues, and the odds of you getting a second is rare. So I was like, I'm gonna hopefully end this in a way that feels like an ending if we don't get anything else. But if we do get more, we can. So that was sort of, it was like trying to thread the needle a little bit of like, okay, does that feel like this? Does this feel like a completed chapter in a book? And could you have other adventures, but not necessarily like, I didn't want to leave it. I've done other projects where I was like, I'm going to plan this out for 50 issues. And then you're like, you got 5. And you're like, oh no. Okay. Well, now what do I do? And so I didn't want to do that anymore. So yeah, it was more just trying to find that middle ground where it felt like a finish without being the complete end of the world.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, because we I know we were a little not worried in a way, but we were like, there's so much going on. Like, there's only 1 or 2 issues left, and we were very surprised how well you were able to stick with it. Because that was didn't seem like an easy task to do.
I wish the only thing I wish I'd been able to put more in the final issue is I really liked the idea of when you are getting what do you call it, mind I can't remember the terminology, when they basically
hijacked.
Hijacked into your own. Yeah. I love the idea of watching Justin like walk down the street thinking it's lava, and people just like, what the hell is he doing? Like this idea, like he can't see anything. Like I thought there was something really funny about like he used the whole brain. Like I just wanted to use that more. Like she would like have him like running through traffic, and he just thinks he's running against rhinoceroses or whatever. Like really, really having fun with like the mental stuff, like that whole world of like having Mrs. X completely mess with his brain. I wanted to do more of that, but I ran out of space.
It's a scary concept. That's a scary concept.
Oh, terrifying, right? I got that idea of like, oh no, your own perception, everything you. I like the idea that like it's like you present the word to them and then they turn it against you, which I think is kind of neat. So
I think it'd be cool if that was like the first movie exclusively streaming Neuralink. Like I think that'd be perfect. A good fit right there.
Yes. I got about 2 minutes because I got to take my dog out. So yeah, sorry about that.
Sure. No, that's perfect. That's actually, we're winding down here anyway.
Okay, hold. Can you guys pause for 1 second? He's barking. Well, give me 30 seconds. I'm so
sorry.
All good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but ladies and gentlemen, in the meantime, please like, subscribe, support the show. We're so close to 100 subscribers. When we get to 100 subscribers, we're going to do yet another giveaway. Almost all the variants that we're giving away are Rogue Sun incentives, and they're all signed by Ryan. So pretty cool.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you so much for joining us today. That was amazing. We talked about a lot. Again, the last year, at least as far as I can remember, maybe I'm missing something, but in terms of comics, I know I'm missing the Power Rangers stuff because I don't read Power Rangers, to be honest. But I tried. I don't know. It hasn't Kyle's the run's the only one that I haven't gotten far enough to reach Ryan's yet, so I can't really say anything.
That's okay.
But
I have that happen all the time. It's so funny. People come up and like, "Oh, I love your Power Ranger run." I'm like, "Really? Where are you?" Like, well, and then we're like, "You're not even at my run yet."
Yeah.
Out in a minute, little man. We're gonna go to the dog park. It's gonna be great. Like that's the funniest thing.
Yeah.
They have like, no, like Draken just did. I'm like, I didn't do anything with Draken for like a really long time. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. You're always correct.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah, I've read everything else Ryan has put, from Vicarious to Infernos to Adam Project to Rogue Sons. Just a lot of good stuff that he's put on the last year. Please check it out. And in terms of things coming up, we've got Rogue Sun coming up in October. We've got It Killed Everyone But Me #1 coming up in.
That's going crazy. Sorry, my
September
dog's
10th.
running in and about. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, and so so the FOC for It Killed Everyone But Me is actually on Monday, this Monday.
Oh,
so
great.
if you're interested in checking out Ryan's new books from Mad Cave Studios, make sure you pre-order it by this Monday. We'll even tweet about it as well. We're very excited to check it out. So yeah, it's called It Killed Everyone But Me #1. Again, FOC August 18th, this Monday. Make sure you pre-order it. And as we mentioned previously, we are going to be giving away an incentive of Rogue Sun signed by Ryan. All you have to do is just leave a comment. We really don't care what the comment is. Just leave a comment. We're going to randomize the comments. Yeah, we're going to randomize the comments, and we're going to give it away to one lucky winner in the US or Canada, please.
Great.
And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Ryan, anything you? Oh, who is it? Who is this?
This is Ender.
Is it a girl or a guy?
No, it's a boy. It's named after Ender.
Oh, so cute.
Amazing.
Oh, Ender's Game. Okay.
He's my boy.
That's amazing.
He's just
That's
getting a little.
amazing.
He was one of 3, and he was the smallest, so we just felt like the. If you've read those books, you'll understand what I mean.
100%,
He's being a little rambunctious right now, so I got to calm him down a little bit.
Yeah. Dogs are on clockwork sometimes like that, right?
He wants to go to the dog park so badly right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, well, guys, we gotta, nature comes calling. We got to do what we got to do. So, Ryan, again, thank you so much for joining us again today. We're gonna obviously do this again in the future soon. We're very excited, just to read your next book, and yeah, just thank you so much for taking the time and just joining us today.
Guys, honestly, it's a pleasure. Thank you guys for entertaining this long conversation. I really appreciate it. You guys actually do. I've said this before, and I mean it. Like, you guys make the book better. I've listened to what you guys say, and you guys have brought up stuff that I've gone like, oh, I should probably address that, and that's a good idea. So thank you for that. Thank you guys for like keeping everybody informed about what's going on and just taking any interest in any of the stuff I do. I really, really appreciate it. I'm really excited for this next arc. We're writing it right now. I'm writing 32 right now, which is really good, and I think 36 might end up being the best book in the entire run, if I'm being honest. Like, I really am excited for where we're going. And stuff's gonna start to fold in, if that makes sense. Like, it's not that I'm not ending anything. I'm just saying, like, we've built a big world, and I think it's now going to be less about building new things and as opposed to connecting things and hopefully building a strong sort of propulsion to the story. So I'm really excited for it. Thank you guys for everything. I really appreciate it. I'll send you some books if you want to keep giving them out. So I'm always here. So thank you guys.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate
Thank you. So everyone, you heard the man. Check out the book, FOC Monday for It Killed Everyone But Me, and Rogue Sun returns in October. We'll see you next time. A little bit of medieval spawn. Go Rogue, everyone.